Here to take us through the international papers is Florence Villeminot. Hello, Florence.
Hi, Claire.
We're going to start off in China because, of course, the big party congress is underway with a once-in-a-decade leadership change coming up.
That's right, and as you can imagine, it's getting a lot of press in the Chinese, a lot of attention in the Chinese press, starting with China Daily. It's on. They have a special coverage throughout the Congress, and today on the front page, you can see that this comes as the banking sector is in good health, according to the China Daily. And inside, their editorial actually focuses on growth, and the China Daily says that there's lots of confidence in growth, and in fact, China is on the way to overtaking the United States as the leading, largest world economy. And the article points out, though, that though China has this great growth, for instance, 7.4% year-on-year of GDP growth, the rate at which China is growing is slowing down. And the article points out that China needs to deal with this. It needs to deal with the aging population and also growing environmental problems. And the way to deal with this is to change its growth model. But the paper points out that this isn't necessarily a bad thing. For instance, there's a cartoon there where you can see that China economy portrayed as a panda there on a treadmill. And there on the front, you can see that it says slower but better, so perhaps a different way of growing.
And these are some of the challenges that the president, who we expected to be Xi Jinping, will have to face.
That's right, and there's an interesting profile of him in the Wall Street Journal Asia today. It takes a look at the challenges that he's facing and points out that he's a figurehead of the fifth generation of Chinese leaders since 1949, and he has to find a way to adapt the Leninist system to the challenges of the 21st century, whether they're the challenges, the economic challenges, or also the media challenges. The media has changed so much with social networking, etc. The article also points out that one big challenge that the Communist Party is facing right now is corruption, and that is what is going to be his first big challenge when he becomes president. It's really an interesting read, and especially as he's on the way to becoming perhaps maybe the most powerful man in the world. And there's also an interesting cartoon in the International Herald Tribune that I think points out the parallels between China and the U.S. today, after this incredible week, after the U.S. election on the one hand and the change of power in China. You see on the one hand, where is the center of the world? You see the White House on the one hand, Tiananmen Square on the other. It seems like they're actually just mirror images of each other. So I think it's an interesting way to portray what's going on right now.
Absolutely. We're going to move on to a different story, and that's the BBC's Director General resigning over the weekend, and he hadn't been in the job for very long at all.
Not long at all. He resigned on Saturday, Georgia Entwistle. Now this comes after the scandal is rocking the BBC, after one of their shows wrongfully accused a member of the Conservative Party of being part of a pedophilia ring. Now, on the cover there, you can see that Lord Patton, the chairman of the BBC, appeared on television yesterday, and he said that more heads will roll. And it comes as at a bad time for the BBC because recently the BBC had come under fire for not revealing allegations that one of their star hosts, Jimmy Savile, had been also involved in a child's sex abuse scandal. So this has really plunged the BBC into a dark scandal that, according to The Independent, it reveals all these management mishaps within the company. But The Guardian points out that this was a much-needed slap for the BBC, that this was something that this mismanagement has been there for a long time, and it needed to change. So perhaps this won't be such a bad thing for the BBC if it manages to learn its lessons. It says that The Guardian says that if it learns the right lessons, the corporation can emerge stronger and more sensible.
From one scandal to another, this time across the pond in the U.S. concerning General David Petraeus.
That's right. Now, this is getting a lot of attention in the U.S. media, as you can imagine. A lot of the media is focusing on the woman that he's allegedly had that he's admitted to having an affair with. Her name is Paula Broadwell. Now, the New York Times takes a closer look at just who she is because, as you can imagine, she's become somewhat of a national curiosity these days. So she was the biographer for General Petraeus. And that's how she got to be very close with him. She followed him to Afghanistan to report about him, get to know him better. So she reportedly got to know him while going on runs with him in Afghanistan. The New York Times goes and investigates what she was like back at home, though. She is living in Charlotte, North Carolina with her husband, and they interview a bunch of her neighbors who say that she just seemed like a friendly soccer mom who was very busy and ambitious, but nothing much more out of the ordinary. Now, the whole story was uncovered because of an FBI FBI investigation because she allegedly sent harassing emails to another woman who is also getting a lot of attention in the press. It's just emerged that she's been identified as Jill Kelly of Tampa, Florida. She's reportedly a close friend of the Petraeuses in general, so I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about her in the days to come.
Have you seen the footage of Paula Broadwell doing push-ups?
Push-ups? I have not seen that yet.
It's pretty impressive. That's all I'll say about that. Anyway, thank you very much, Florence, for taking us through the papers.